Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and this is my first episode of 30 years in real estate. Holy man, can you believe it? So I tried to find a bottle of scotch that was made 30 years ago. This one's been in my cabinet for a while, and the closest I could get, not coming into focus, right here, maybe I go like that. 1998. Glen Ross 1998. Distilled in 1998, bottled in 2011. As you can see, this bottle is quite dark, kind of dirty, tastes like dirt. That's why I still have it. Saving it for a special occasion. Don't really like dirt scotch. I like the citrusy kind. They say it has lemon, citrus, rich vanilla, and cinnamon lemons. Woohoo! It either tastes good or it doesn't. That's my motto. I don't think you can find these anymore. They're not that expensive, if you can find them, but they got bought out. So, 30 years ago, I started in real estate, and I was trying to think of what could I use as the first transaction I ever did. Now, the first transaction I did was a condo, and the second one was a condo, and the third one was a condo, and they were all townhouses, and they were pretty cheap. Let me tell you, pretty cheap townhouses in really nice areas. I talked to someone the other day. They still own that townhouse. They rent, I sold them another house. They rented it out, and they said they didn't want to be landlords. But guess what? 30 years later, they're still landlords. Things paid for it, tenant paid for it. Oh my Lord, how did that happen? They're literally what they said. We don't even know how that happened. Well, I can tell you how it happened. 30 years goes past quite quickly, let me tell you. So my first deal, I'm going to use as a story for the first year I was in real estate, because there were lots of them. Things were much different 30 years ago, let me tell you. Does that mean much difference in the way sellers sell and buyers buy? Not really. We have more technology, HDR photography, all this kind of stuff. We'll get into later when we get into the later deals. But in 96, we took pictures with film. We made feature sheets with an actual picture on it. And that was fancy. Most people were just black and white pages. And that's how it works. So, what was my first crazy story? I'll tell you my first crazy story. And there's a little bit you got to know about that. And we have to put it into context. So in 1996, what was minimum wage? $5 an hour. Average priced house in Calgary was somewhere around 100 grand. And I'm not going to get into the details of that because I just want to tell the story. So the first house I ever sold was in Castle Ridge. That's right, Castle Ridge. An 856 square foot bi-level. 2-bedroom. No basement development. No garage. But a very good location. This house was listed for $55,000. Woo-wee! Remember, minimum wage is $5, not 15. A lot of people forget about. They think it was cheaper back then, but I'll explain to you, it's not. This house was not in bad condition. Did a home inspection, passed with flying colors. You know why? This was an Alberta housing house. So a lot of people don't know this. The Alberta government, and they got rid of all these, which they shouldn't have, because they said, you know what, if we sell them all and put the money just in a regular GIC, which would have got you 8% back then, because interest rates were 10%, you might have been able to get a 9.5. You might have been able to get a 9.5 5-year mortgage, maybe get a 9.5. We just take that money, sell all the houses, and just give rent subsidy to poor people, and say, so if their rent's $1,000 a month, which they can't afford, all this money we pooled, making 8% or 7%, would be able to pay the subsidy, and it would cost the government any money, which was stupid. That's not what they did. They spent it all because elections come along. So this house was $55,000. It was listed by one of the most terrible people ever to do real estate. I'm not going to mention his name. Terrible, arrogant, just a nasty, nasty person. His first name started with an H, just in case there's anybody that in Blue Sky City thinks they know who it is. First name started with an H. So I'm doing a deal, and a very, very nice man in my office said to me, hey, that guy is a you-know-what. And I said, okay, well, I don't care. Because A bully isn't going to bully me. Never has happened, never will happen. So I didn't care, I showed the house, called him up, and rude on the phone. He said, listen, this is an Alberta housing house, and I got to send it to the government, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, my Lord. The ignorance that came over the phone actually translated out the end. I said, well, I'm sending you an offer. He goes, you got to bring it to me. I said, okay. I didn't have a problem with that. I'd still do it today. So I brought him the offer. And we wrote $50,000 on a $55,000 house. If you want to put that into context, people, the average price house in Calgary right now is $745,000. That means I brought an offer $75,000 under list. How do you think you would feel if I brought you an offer $75,000 under list? Because we were 10% under. And he just went, what's wrong with you? And I went, nothing. And he started to get all arrogantly, and of course I got mad. And I didn't get mad in a, way that I should have. But I put him in his place. He couldn't believe it. This guy coming with a $50,000 offer. I said, listen, it's your job to present that to the government. Go do your job. So after that, he was kind of nice. I think he just wanted to see if you had any skin in the game, if you know what I mean. So he calls me back, $54,000's a counter. Don't bother coming back. You're not getting any more off. And I said, yeah, okay. I talked to my clients. So I talked to my clients. And they were looking at a condo. And I said, buy the house. Buy the house. Single family. No condo fees. Single family would do very well. Now, don't get me wrong. If they would have bought a condo back then, they would do very well today if they still own that house. But we came back. $53,000. Oh, he says, $53,000. I said, listen, interest rates are 10%. We're 5% down. This is every penny. I just sold him a story. And he went, fine, I'll go back to the government. So, and you got to remember back then, you didn't get a response in an hour or 2 hours. It could take a day or two. And also, multiple offers didn't exist. Nobody even knew what they were. The only way you got a multiple offer is they put a house on for $10 when it was worth $100,000, and then you would get multiple offers. Otherwise, forget it. Well-priced house with multiple offers never happened. So they came back at $53,000. So I sold that house for $53,000 30 years ago. What do you think that house would be worth today? 30 years later? Well, first of all, if you paid $53,000 in 1996 and you worked at a job and blah, 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 even if it was minimum wage, you're now making $15 an hour. Assuming you didn't get any raises other than what the government made the business give you, you're now making $15 an hour. Well, you were $5 an hour when you bought it. So was it more affordable in 1996 or is it more affordable in 2026? Well, I like to boil everything down to minimum wage hours worked. It's the only way to be fair. Because wages go up, wages go down, people get raises, you go to school, you can do all things to improve your wages. But if you're making minimum wage and you bought a house back then and you buy that house today, which would be about $375,000. Someone said to me, I'd rather buy the house at $53,000 in 1996. I said, really? Well, I make $30 an hour. I said, yeah. You can't buy that house today. It's same as back then. If you made $5 an hour, you're not buying the house. But 2 times minimum wage, that's what $30 an hour is, 2 times minimum wage. $10 an hour back then, you ain't doing it. So, what does it work out to? So I figured it out. And what did I figure it out? I better check. I figured out to hours of work. So, if you made minimum wage in 1996 and you wanted to buy this house, assuming that there was a way for you to do that at $5 an hour and 9.5% interest rates, I don't think so. That house would have cost you 180 hours of work per month to pay for the house. Today, 140 hours. So which is more expensive? 1996 or 2026? I would say 1996 was more expensive. That's because the interest rates today are actually below 4%. I figured this out using 9.5% for 1996 and 4% for 2026. In fact, there's some 3.7s out there right now, 3.8s. So yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it is cheaper, more affordable to buy a house today for $375,000 than it was in 1996 for $53,000. What? This is what people seem to misunderstand about the inflation story. Now, don't get me wrong, food inflation is there. Don't get me wrong on this. We're just talking about housing. Food inflation has gone crazy. Food is, on a minimum wage basis, much more expensive today than it was in 1996. But the housing is cheaper. And people just kind of like, huh? Because they look at the numbers and they actually don't know what the numbers mean. So there's my first story. First house sold $53,000 in Castle Ridge. And those people loved that house. They called me 10 years later to sell it just before our market went absolutely crazy in 2006. It was late 05 and they called me to sell it, and we put it on the market and we sold that house. Are you ready for this? $125,000. If they would have waited a couple more months, they probably would have got $200. Because in 06 and 07, prices in my city doubled. That's right, they doubled. They doubled it in that 2-year period. Then we came down, we go up, we go down, we go down. Remember, it's never in a straight line. But they were extremely happy. $53,000 purchase price, plus they built a little garage on it. They put an oversized single garage on it. They never did any basement development or anything like that. They just kind of maintained it and they kept it nice and clean, maintained the outside, and they were happy because they netted out $100,000 and they moved to Vancouver. And that was before Vancouver took off, so they got a really good deal there. And I'm sure they're happier than happy. So that's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. Buy a house. Everyone says don't buy it. Back then everyone said don't buy. You shouldn't buy. Interest rates are 10%. You shouldn't buy. Well, guess what? You buy. Even today, I guarantee you buy a house today in 2026. I don't care which one it is. I don't even care how much you spend on a single family home. In 25 years, you are going to be extremely happy. Extremely. So thank you for tuning in to story number 1 of a 30-year real estate career. Oh, I got some doozies. This one's just a nice one. And I hope you have yourself a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the future.